Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Jujutsu Kaisen spoiler summary. Today we're going over chapter 268, which was titled Curtain, Conclusion, Final. We've got so many different titles for this, but long story short, it's the end. That's really all you need to know. So let's go ahead, let's get into this chapter. Let's not waste any more time. And you know what? With telling you right now, it is legitimately one of the weirdest, most bizarre, random chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen that I think we've ever gotten. And truly, I think you'll see a lot of people change their tone on the series after this. It's a very divisive chapter, but let's get into it. No opinions as of right now. Let's just go ahead and explain the whole thing. So the chapter begins with Sukuna and Megami finally having a heart-to-heart for once. And Sukuna is still in his coping phase. He's basically asking Megami, hey, how do you think you're even going to begin to move on with everything that happened to you? You killed your sister, you killed your sensei, you let me take over. You might as well just let me keep going. You will not be able to live a normal life after this ever, so you might as well just let me take over. And honestly, in this moment, we see a little bit of confidence from Megami. And he goes, you know what? Honestly, you sound desperate. You are showing your hand. You're showing that you're afraid of death, and that gives Megami the confidence to carry on, to literally keep going, especially with the way resonance hit him. Megami realizes that even though there's one finger left, Sukuna's soul is just going to dissipate. All 19 of those fingers dying is going to disrupt how specific splitting yourself into multiple cursed objects is. And that's going to completely just cause Sukuna to dissipate and disappear. And Megami admits that even though he never intended to live a proper life, at the end of the day, he's not the only person in the world. There's more people than just himself, which I think is one of the biggest developments that Megami has gotten since succumbing to Sukuna like this. Sukuna basically took advantage of Megami's selfishness, that Megami didn't think he could live his life. He didn't want to live his life, and he didn't care what happened if he didn't live his life. But now Megami's taking accountability and he's accepting the responsibility of his actions and saying, I can't let you keep doing this, Sukuna. It's time for you to go. And that's exactly what happens. As Yuji's domain shatters, Sukuna's reincarnation gets undone, and we get this double spread of Sukuna literally getting ripped off of Megami's body. Sukuna becomes this fucking like slug almost. This just crawling, sniveling little tiny piece of flesh that Yuji walks up to and reminds Sukuna of the moment that he gave Sukuna pity. Hey, remember when I told you we didn't even have to do this? You could have lived, went over to me, and survived? Haha, yeah, how about we try that again? Because Yuji gives Sukuna one of the craziest bits of dialogue I think I've seen in my life. He says, Sukuna, you are me. Which I think is beautiful because while it's interesting we're kind of referencing the Mahito fight here, it shows how far Yuji's come. Yuji went from telling Mahito, I am you, to standing on the complete opposite side of the spectrum and telling Sukuna as he looks down on him, you are me. So it's an interesting piece of character development, and something that I'm really unsure of still how to feel about it is Yuji picks up the crumbling, slowly fading away embers of Sukuna, and Yuji still sympathizes with Sukuna and still sympathizes with his viewpoint on the world, that every life has value. And he says, you know what, Sukuna? I could have just as easily ended up like you. Luckily enough, I had my grandpa. So you, having no one, let's try this one more time. Let's see if you can exist and coexist and become a normal person. But with me by your side, I will never give up on you, Sukuna. Which, I'll talk more about this in my full chapter review once we have a full translation, but the Naruto nine-tailed fox route, as much as Gege said he would never go this way, is an interesting development. I feel like Sukuna, of all people, doesn't deserve redemption, and the fact that Sukuna, I mean, it makes sense that Yuji gave Sukuna the opportunity to be spared before. But now Yuji should realize Sukuna there's no point saving him. There's no point redeeming him. He's dead. Let's kill him. But Yuji still offers him that saving grace even at the end. How do I feel about that? I don't know. Ask me in a couple days after I've slept on it. Sukuna seems to feel the same way because he gets angry as Yuji consoles him. But one thing that we do get that's beautiful, Sukuna actually calls Yuji by his name here. We get the first time Sukuna is said, instead of brat, Itadori Yuji, which I guess Yuji beating him in a fight, it's well deserved as the first time he does this. But Sukuna reminds Yuji that as much as you want to continue playing the fool and acting like your philosophy even begins to make sense, don't forget I'm a curse. Don't forget I'm a curse. I'm not a human like you. Sukuna distancing himself from humanity as a whole, as much as he hates it, even though he was once, as much as he doesn't want to believe it, you know, was a human. We move on to what is, in my opinion, the most disappointing aspect of this chapter, at least for me. I've said it multiple times on my stream. Orame was a character that had multiple moments of badassery early on in the series, and it made me want to see them in a full fight and see what they were completely capable of. Orame, for me, is what a lot of people complain that Kashimo was to them. I always expected Kashimo to get one-shotted by Sukuna, and the fact that we had at least one cool fight with Kashimo and Hikari made it up for me. I'm cool with Kashimo. Orame never getting a real proper fight. We never actually see what they're capable of. Never see if they have a domain expansion, a maximum crazy technique, or how Orame was even able to fight Hikari for so long. It's just, it's sad. It makes me, this is your wasted character, guys. And even more so with the fact that as the fight ends fully, Orame, with Sukuna's death, just decides to take themselves out after glazing Sukuna even more upon death. Orame mentions that the only reason they even lost was because Sukuna was able to, get beaten by the soul dismantle. Sukuna was inside of Megami as a vessel. If Sukuna had a real body and was in his original Heian era form, they would have lost. Which, I mean, I guess Orame says that they were lucky they were saved by being born 1,000 years late, but that's how time works, Orame. That's like saying that I would be killed by Napoleon, like in a conquest. Like, I mean, yeah, you could say that I was lucky that I wasn't born in the same time period as all of these crazy dictators, but does that mean that they have power over me still? Interesting discussion here. But again, Hikari is all cool with finding out that luck was on his side. That's what happens when you have Hikari on your side. You have luck on your side. And Arame's body just crumbles away, basically turning themselves to ice, taking themselves out, or just dying in the fight with Hikari. Either way, this upsets me. I'll stop talking about this or I'll cry. Not actually, but yeah. Arame and Hikari, definitely something I can come out right away and say, yeah, what was going on with this? We skip ahead to the Sukuna died, everything is over. Shinjuku arc is over. We shift into a time skip and Megami's waking up and is rejoining the fray of his two classmates of the first years, which is crazy. They try to set up the box joke, the Opapi thing again. They aren't able to get away with it. One thing I will say is that I didn't realize how much I missed Nobara until reading dialogue with her and the two other students. It really made me remember how much of a great character Nobara is and how well she meshes with Megami and Yuji, and it was beautiful. Say what you will about Nobara's return, but having this nice cool moment with the trio is nice. And we also find out that Yuji admits that he cried, everything like that. Very, very sad. All of that good stuff, right? Now, Gojo lets everyone, know the things that he wanted them to know from the beginning. He gives everyone a letter. Nobara gets a letter. She instantly crushes it because it apparently had mentions about her mom's whereabouts. Obviously, we knew Nobara was raised by her grandma. Her grandma was the sorcerer. We don't know what happened to Nobara's actual parents. And apparently, we never will. Nobara doesn't even want to know. Nobara doesn't care at all. Well, now we move to Megami's letter, of course. And he starts laughing. And Yuji's like, what's so funny? Like, what's so funny about the letter that Gojo left you? And you know what? You know what's interesting is I have to love it. I have to love it. Fushiguro cares so little about everything that the letter mentions, in a funny way, Gojo admits to killing Toji. Your dad's dead and buried because I killed you. And honestly, Megami being raised by Gojo for mostly his whole life, not even giving a crap about Toji from the very beginning, it makes sense that something this critical would make Megami crack up laughing. And I think that's a beautiful way to know. At least, you know what, Gojo did get to tell Megami at the end, right? I think that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful ending. Nobara's mom, that's kind of a throwaway, but yeah, Megami's dad, at least they got that closure. And then basically, they all realize what time it is. Apparently, they all have to meet up with Maki, the second years, the students and the teachers that are all remaining, to save Okotsu. They're trying to save Okotsu's life. We don't know what's going on, whether Yuta's stuck in Gojo's body, if Gojo's coming back. We don't know what's going on, but we have 3 chapters left. Sukuna's dead. Shinjuku Showdown is over. Megami, Nobara, and Yuji's arcs are complete. And now we have 3 chapters left to save Yuta. How are we going to do that? Is that enough content to have us last 3 more chapters? Is this a bad ending? Guys, let me know down in the comments what you think. I know this chapter is going to be one of the craziest chapters of all time as far as fandom goes. I'll be honest with you, I have my criticisms of the chapter, but I also have the things that I like from the chapter. So let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button because, you know, I will be covering the last 3 chapters. And also subscribe because I cover plenty more than just Jujutsu Kaisen. And with this ending, we're going to all be needing to move to a different series, guys. So if you're reading Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, Blue Lock, whatever is going on, check out the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, 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 peace.